set to work from there. Good evening. I would like to begin by thanking the executive board and leadership of our synagogue, as well as Madeline Kramer, Carly Einfeld, for making this event a reality. To tonight's partners from the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles, the Executive Vice President and Chief Program Officer, Becky Sobelman-Stern, Senior Vice President and Director of the Israel Office, Aaron Goldberg, Director of Synagogue and Rabbinic Outreach, Zev Horowitz, and from the Consulate General's Office of Israel, Special Advisor to the Consul General and Director of Public Affairs, Carolyn Ben-Natan. We'll begin tonight's program with the lighting of a memorial candle and opening remarks. Please welcome the President of the Beverly Hills Synagogue, Young Israel of North Beverly Hills, Steve Dorfman.
Good evening, and welcome to our shul, Young Israel of North Beverly Hills. We are here this evening to mark the Shloshim period since the horrific massacre of men, women, children, and babies on October 7th, and to stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Israel. I would like to thank the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles and the Consulate General of Israel's office for partnering with us on this event tonight. Welcome Becky Sobelman-Stern, the Executive Vice President and Chief Program Officer of the Federation. From the Consul General of Israel's office, welcome to the Director of Political Affairs, Elise Steinberg. From Beverly Hills City Council, I'm honored to welcome Council members John Mirish, Lily Bossi, and Sharona Nazarian. Lastly, certainly not least, we are privileged to have with us this evening a mother and daughter, Batia and Rotem Holin, survivors of the Kfar Azza massacre, who will share with us their eyewitness accounts of that horrible day. It is very difficult to comprehend that in this day and age, we, the Jewish people, are still fighting for our survival across the globe. For those who believe this is a war only against Israel, you are mistaken. It's not a war of geography. It's a war against the Jewish people. There are anti-Semitic protests and attacks right here in our own backyard. Nobody cares if we're Orthodox, Conservative, Reform, Sephardic, Ashkenazi. They only care if we are Jewish. It's not a coincidence. Israel is referred to by the world as the Jewish state. The brave Chayalim are putting their lives on the line every day to fight this despicable enemy. They are forces of evil who kidnapped over 200 men, women, children, and babies. What kind of a person kidnaps a 6-month-old baby? What kind of a person slaughters and massacres babies and the elderly and makes it public? What kind of a person rapes young women? This is the enemy that our brave Chayalim are facing. Please, Hashem, in the name of our forefathers and mothers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah, in the name of Moshe and Aaron, and the name of David HaMelech and Shlomo HaMelech, bring the hostages home alive, and keep our Chayalim and the Jewish people of Israel safe and victorious. Am Yisrael Chai.
Our hearts, our soul has been shattered. The loss and pain of our brothers and sisters is unbearable. There are times in life when the reality is so grave, it is so frightening, that all one may want to do is to retreat into the comfort of silence, to fade away. This is not one of those moments. We each have a duty to speak up and find words to tell the story of the victims and ensure that they are not forgotten. This morning during Shacharit, we added the Avinu Malkeinu prayer for Israel. And we got to the words, Avinu Malkeinu, Aseh leman harugim al shem kodshecha, where we beseech God, act on behalf of those murdered for your name. I froze, staring blankly at the page, and as if on cue, I felt a tap on my shoulder and turned to the gentleman praying right behind me. And he was pointing to the exact same place in his siddur and mentioned how relevant these words suddenly seem. Yet another important reminder of the loss we are here to memorialize tonight, and the comfort that can be found in sharing and connecting with each other. Tonight's program may at times feel difficult. It will be emotional, though by simply being here together, every one of us has made a choice to enlist, to support, and to plant seeds of healing and a light for our future. Please turn your attention to this screen for a message from the President of Israel, Isaac Herzog.
Dear brothers and sisters, Achayot v'Achim, Jews from all over the world and all Jewish communities around the world. I've just returned from a kibbutz in southern Israel. The name of the kibbutz is Be'eri, an incredible community who made the desert bloom, building immense industries, raising crops and families, a story that shows the incredible accomplishments of Israel and our people. 8 decades ago, the Jewish people saw the worst of human cruelty. We stood on our feet, fought for a home, and created something wonderful. When I returned from the kibbutz, I had to wash the blood off my shoes. Hamas terrorists murdered more than 100 people there, 10% of the kibbutz. They took others hostage. The houses of the kibbutz are blackened shells. What we have seen in the past week has changed us forever. Israel was founded as a response to the atrocities of the Holocaust and World War II, as an expression of the values of civilization. These values have been violated with unimaginable cruelty and live-streamed on social media by our enemies. Children were slaughtered, women raped. More than 1,300 innocent Israeli citizens, Jews, and people from all over the world, from 36 countries, were murdered in one day. I've seen things I don't want to describe. This isn't a fight between one small state and a Palestinian terror group. This is a battle between civilization and barbarity. If you're against the bloodthirsty disregard for human life, you stand with Israel. If you're on the side of human dignity and civilization, you stand with Israel. In 1948, when our new state was attacked and outnumbered by the Arab world, when our very existence was in doubt, our brothers and sisters in Jewish communities around the world mobilized and helped save the Jewish state and make it bloom and flourish throughout the ages. And you have continued to stand by us all along the way. I know that many of you have families in Israel who are worried. Many of you are watching in agony and pain. Your best friends are in Israel. I know you feel the same grief we do. And I know you share our pride and trepidation as our sons and daughters take the fight to the enemy. I know you share in our frustration and anger when our actions to defend ourselves are questioned, even when we abide entirely by international law. So, dear friends, there are painful and decisive weeks ahead. Our history teaches us that when the Jewish people is united and resolute, there is nothing that is impossible. I thank you for all you have done to support and stand up for Israel. I am so overwhelmed by incredible show of support, as if the entire Jewish mishpacha has woken up again as a lion. And I thank you for continuing to stand by us. This is a moment of tragedy, but also a moment of rebirth. The paradise in Be'eri, which was turned into hell, please God, will turn back into paradise. Am Yisrael Chai.
When the attack broke out, Tomer Peretz, a local Israeli artist, was in Tel Aviv, and he chose to act. He proceeded to volunteer with Zaka in collecting and honoring the victims, where he also documented what he saw. Since returning, he has been active in sharing his story and the horrors he witnessed. Earlier today, he arranged an incredible tribute to the victims and hostages with a live art installation. We are grateful that you are here. Please welcome Tomer Peretz.
I went to Israel to attend a wedding on November 2nd. I took my two young boys, Roy and Ziv, and I told them, let's just have some boys trip in Israel. It's the best. To be a tourist in Israel, I think it's maybe the best place to be a tourist at. We got an apartment, Airbnb in Tel Aviv. On Friday, I've met all of my friends from the military. I was serving in Sayeret Golani and Gdud 13, but that was 18, 20 years ago. We met on Friday. We spoke about Gaza actually on Friday. We've been familiar with Gaza streets, like our arm. And then Saturday morning, I woke up into alarm went off, siren was all around, and I was running into the mamad, into the shelter. When I got a text messages that all of my friends from the military are going to reserve, I have a PTSD, so I don't do reserve. But I felt like I had to do something. I wanted to help, like all of us, all of you guys want to help. So I called one of my friends in Zaka, and I pushed very hard to help them out. On Monday morning, the Zaka guys picked me up from Jerusalem. I was already in Jerusalem on Monday morning, and they picked me up. And the first thing that we were supposed to do is to go to the festival site and pick up some stretchers because we're about to get into Kibbutz Be'eri. We were one of the first teams who got into Kibbutz Be'eri. When we just got into the entrance, it was the military and tanks, and it was kind of noisy. But then you have to pass the big, huge yellow gate. And once you pass the yellow gate, that's where really hell was in front of our eyes. You see arms on the street, people just dying, like you see a dead bodies all over, on the grass, on the porch, on the entrance to the houses. And then we had one of the guys from Pikud Aryeh from the army had a map, and he started to send the teams to, every team goes to a different house. The first dead body I cleared out was it was a lady. She was maybe 40 years old, based on the skin. When we just got into her bedroom, I saw the legs, but I couldn't see the head. And then we kind of lay down the plastic bag, and we had to flip over. She had no face. They literally shot her face, like the entire magazine. Like 1 and 2 was not enough, I guess. Second house was a lady. She was over 90 years old. They stabbed her on the bed maybe 20 times. after a few days, obviously the blood and everything is getting dry, so you can really see the cuts. After a few hours, I was not in the nursery part. It was a different team. They took the very experienced guys to clear out the nursery part. But we got closer, and we started to take their small body bags. And after they put it in line, they say the Kaddish, but then they forgot that they're looking for a specific dead body, and they were looking for that little child with an X stuck in his head. So we had to open all the bags in order to find a baby with an X stuck in his head. I was volunteering with Zaka for 3.5 days. Probably will never do it again, but these people, I don't know what they're made from. Some of them are doing that for 25 years, 30 years. But even then, they say that they've never seen anything like that. Reason I'm speaking about that, it comes from a very selfish reason. I'd rather to talk about it and not just to sit at home and just digging in my dark thoughts. I pulled up my phone after a few hours when I was working with Zaka. These guys are so pure and holy, and you see me, I don't really fit the Zaka type visual. I was kind of, they look at me like who's this guy with a cover tattoos and taking photos of everything. So one of the guys, the spokesman, Moti, he got a heart attack, by the way, on Wednesday. He collapsed, and he's alive. He's okay now. But he came up to me on Monday after like 3 hours. He saw me with a phone. He's like, dude, if one more time I'm going to see you with your phone, I'm going to kick you out. I was like a good boy. And then I walked up to him and I'm like, bro, you guys, we're clearing out like body after body, and you guys are not even taking pictures. Like, there is not even one journalist here. There is no international media. There is nothing. He's like, nah, bro, God see it all. I'm like, in what world are you living in? Like, people need to see it. So for the entire week, I was like squeezing my phone and taking photos and videos without Zaka guys to see. Only on Wednesday, I left Kibbutz Be'eri on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Only then the international media got into the kibbutz. And I'm like, now? After we cleared out everything and there is only like 120 Hamas dead bodies around? So I started to share everything on social media already on Monday, and through the days, but at the beginning it was not that horrific content, but after a few days, I guess Zaka and the military understand that, hey, you know what? We need all those images. You know what they did? They went to the Pathological Institute in Shura by Ramle, and they started to open all the body bags in order to take photos, to show proof. I don't know what crazier, the way they got into Israel or the fact that people denying this thing. I think after October 7, not just me and not just the soldiers, we all going to be different people. And we should never stop sharing our stories, what we're familiar with. And we should never give up. We should never take our mezuzah off. We should never be afraid to walk down the street. And we should never, never, never give up. At least for the next generation. Thank you for coming tonight.
As the sun set today, we ushered in the Shloshim period, the 30 days, since the 22nd of Tishrei, October 7th. To commemorate the Shloshim, 30 days of mourning, please welcome the Director of Political Affairs for the Israeli Consulate General of the Pacific Southwest, Elise Steinberg.
Every 30 seconds of every 30 minutes, of every 30 hours, of each of the last 30 days, we have reflected on what we have lost, on what we fear we may lose. Tonight, on the 30th night, it is good to be here with you, to reflect together. Reflections like Tomer's matter. They are everything. I stand here as a representative of the Consulate General of Israel in Los Angeles. I stand here as a native of the Los Angeles Jewish community. The young Israel North Beverly Hills family, Rabbi and Sabine, are so close to my heart. I stand here as a granddaughter of 4 Holocaust survivors, the child of 2 children of survivors. Each of these 3 identities housed in one person. But admittedly, until October 7th, my identity, the identity of my generation, the identity of the generations before and after mine, remained unclaimed. In the wake of October 7th, Israeli songwriter and author Noam Chorev wrote, Kol Yehudi nolad im mispar dimyoni al hayad, she'ozer lo liskor me'efo hu ba u'la'an hu lo yachol leharshot et atzmo lachzor. Every Jew is born with an invisible number tattooed on his arm, so he can never forget from where he came and to where he must never return. Until October 7th, I didn't realize that I too, Elise, the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, the American Jew, the Zionist by profession, was emblazoned with an identity that I must claim. Yes, that identity comes with the risk of claiming my life, simply for being a Jew, simply for supporting Jewish statehood. But that identity is worth claiming. It must be claimed. It must be declared. The paths of my grandparents' and parents' generations were very clear. The generation that survived World War II was tasked with recreating Jewish life, with fighting for the independence of and building the State of Israel. The boomer generation were charged with making good on the survival of the Jewish people and the Jewish state, to thrive and to prosper and to make up for what was lost. And they have. But then along came X, Y, Z, Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. Some of you, like me, are of those generations. Many of you have children of those generations, and others, grandchildren of those generations. Questions arose as to the direction our generations, X, Y, and Z, would guide the Jewish people and the Jewish state. Let us turn to mathematics to understand the generational progression of X, Y, Z. In mathematics, X represents the unknown. Those born in the 70s and 80s perhaps left something about Jewish continuity unknown. Gen Y, or the millennials like myself, born in the 80s and 90s. In mathematics, Y represents a variable, something whose value is determined based on to what it is attached. Perhaps we too left something unanswered. It turns out that Gen Z, the generation we thought was most unknown and most variable. In mathematics, Z represents the integer, the whole number, something whole, pure, perfect. This week, many of you heard the voiceover of Commanding Officer of the Southern Command, Major General Yaron Finkelman, radioing to IDF soldiers on the ground operations in Gaza. He said, "Southern Command forces, this is the commander. We are striking Hamas and the terror organizations in the Gaza Strip. We have one goal, victory. No matter how long or how hard the fighting will be, there is no outcome other than victory. We will fight with professionalism and strength based first and foremost on the IDF values which were instilled in us, dedication to mission and the pursuit of victory. We will fight in the alleys, we will fight in the tunnels, we will fight wherever necessary. We will eliminate the abominable enemy before whom we stand. My brothers in arms, the residents of Be'eri, Sderot, Nir Oz, Kfar Azza, the West Negev communities, and alongside of them are all of Am Yisrael. We are all watching you. Like me, they trust you and believe in you. You are the generation of victory. This is the commander. Complete your mission. Strike the enemy over and out." Yes, Gen Z is the generation of victory. Gen Z, the generation of a new Zionism. X, Y, and Z are no longer in question. Atem, anachnu, dor hanitzachon. You, we are the generation of victory. Growing up in a Zionist home and attending Jewish school, my favorite song, naturally, was the Hatikva. It evoked something in me I couldn't really articulate. I still can't really articulate. But my favorite part was the last phrase, mostly because we sang it twice. It made the song and the feeling of the song last a little longer. Lihiot am chovshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion Yerushalayim. To be a free nation in our land, the land of Zion, Jerusalem. I have asked myself lately, why do we sing that stanza twice? Our Consul General Israel Bahar and our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have called this Israel's second war of independence. Perhaps we sing that verse twice because now it is our generation's turn to defend our freedom in our land, to defend our anthem. An invisible tattoo emblazoned on our arms reminding us to where we must never return, and a visible land reminding us to where we must. We are free in our land. We will be free in our land. We are all the generation of victory. Am Yisrael Chai.
Over the last few weeks, under the leadership of Rabbi Dunner, our synagogue has become a central point of chesed and donations for our soldiers and the families impacted in Israel. With his son Meir fighting on the front lines in the IDF, Rabbi Dunner's concern of the events and they unfold has not stopped him at all from continuing to lead and grow in his activism on behalf of Israel. To talk about remembering the martyrs, please welcome Rabbi Pini Dunner.
My friends, tonight is a difficult night. In Jewish tradition, 30 days after the passing of those we cherish and love is meant to be a moment of transition. The mourning, the grieving, is meant to end. When Aaron the high priest, Aaron HaKohen, died after 40 years in the wilderness at the very dawn of Jewish history, The verse in Numbers records, Vayiru kol ha'eda ki gava ha'aron vayivku et ha'aron 30 yom kol bet Yisrael. When the whole community saw that Aaron had passed away, they mourned him for 30 days, the whole house of Israel. So too, when Moses died, at the end of Deuteronomy, we are told, Vayivku bnei Yisrael et Moshe barvot Moav 30 yom. Vayitmu yemei bechi evel Moshe. The Israelites wept for Moses in the plains of Moab for 30 days, and then the period of mourning for Moses ended. That's right. The mourning, the grieving, the sadness ended, and life moved on. The nation had 30 days to absorb the loss, to grieve, to mourn, to get itself together, and then everyone was ready to face the future. And that has been our tradition ever since. When we lose a loved one, a father, a mother, a spouse, a sibling, even a child, we are given a full month to nurse our emotional wounds, and then we venture back into the reality of a world without those we love. But tonight is not like that. Tonight is a difficult night, more difficult than words can express. I have to pinch myself. Have 30 days really elapsed since the horrific slaughter of our brothers and sisters? Has any one of us had time to grieve? Has any one of us truly had time to reflect on the barbaric torture and murder of 1,400 innocent lives, and then the evil desecration of their bodies? Has any one of us had time to absorb the pain of their loss as our world has collapsed around us? Who here or anywhere in the Jewish world has had even one moment to catch their breath for the last 30 days? We have endured and continue to endure body blow after body blow, and we're not even allowed to talk about it. It's a crazy thing. Apparently, we, the Jewish people, are not a persecuted minority. Go figure. Do you know what that means? It means that when we are attacked and killed in a pogrom so massive that it is hard to comprehend, we cannot grieve. We cannot complain. We cannot protest. On the contrary, conventional wisdom has it that we, the Jewish people, are the aggressor. And by we, I don't mean Israel or Israelis, I mean Jews. Yes, all Jews in every country around the globe. Every Jew is guilty by association for being in pain for the loss of so many of our loved ones. In Sydney, they are chanting, "Gas the Jews." In London, they are chanting, "There is only one solution, Intifada revolution." And in Washington, D.C., today, they are chanting, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," which is nothing less than a call for genocide against the Jews living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. So, my friends, our Shloshim period may have technically come to an end if you're doing a day count, but truthfully, it has not even yet begun. There will be a moment at some point to start grieving, and then 30 days later, we will move on. But right now, we have work to do. Right now, we must ensure that the horrific crimes of Hamas against Jews for being Jews are exposed for what they are. The first stage of an attempted genocide against the Jewish people. Right now, we must come together, Jews and non-Jews, all those who can see and hear past the cacophony of hate and lies, so that we can form a robust coalition against those who engage in terror, those who support terror, those who fund terror, and those who teach the next generation that terrorism is some kind of postmodern idealism. It isn't. Terror is terror. It really is as simple as that. And those who support terror are themselves terrorists, and they will have to pay the price. The blood of 1,400 people who were killed is calling out to us. The cries of 240 hostages ring in our ears. Don't grieve for the dead until everyone else is safe from being killed. And don't mourn and wallow in sorrow until the hostages are safely back home and there is no chance for marauding barbarians to kidnap another man, woman, or child. And let me make one more thing clear. It would be a grave mistake to let the hatred towards us as Jews define our identity. We, the Jewish people, are not merely the product of pogroms, animosity, and massacres. Absolutely not. We, the Jewish people, are the bearers of God's Torah. We, the Jewish people, carry the legacy of the prophets. We, the Jewish people, display the passion of the Maccabees. We, the Jewish people, are the product of the wisdom of our sages and of the vibrancy of Jewish life that has blossomed in every corner of the world over millennia. And most importantly, our land is Eretz Yisrael, a gift given to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob 4,000 years ago, conquered by Joshua, ruled by King David, and yearned for by every generation of Jews wherever they have been throughout our history. Those who kill us in the hope that it will deter us from our destiny are making a big mistake. Those who accuse the Jews of being colonialists with no rights in the promised land are swimming against the tide of history. Assyrians, Greeks, Romans, Byzantines, Crusaders, Ottomans, they've all come and gone. But the Jewish connection to the Holy Land has always been there, and it is there to stay. You can scream and you can shout on the streets, you can plan attacks, you can use your proxies, such as the United Nations, in the vain hope that you will dislodge the Jewish people from the land of Israel. It will never happen. The Jewish people are in their land, and they are there to stay. Greater enemies of the Jewish people than Hamas have come and gone. So I say this to Hamas and to their motley team of supporters. Tonight, 30 days after you killed our beloved family members, we are more pumped than we have ever been. Soon, very soon, Hamas won't even be a punchline. You'll be gone, and Israel will thrive, prosper, and flourish. The land of Israel, Eretz Yisrael, Medinat Yisrael, the Jewish people, will be the beacon of light and the source of spiritual awakening and material bounty God intends it to be. Listen carefully, and you can hear the Messiah's footsteps coming towards us. The time is now. The Jewish people have never been more united. In adversity, there is unity. In suffering, there is love. In pain, there is hope. We never give up because we know we are God's chosen people and his beloved children. Od Avinu Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Ad Biat Goel Tzedek, Bimhera V'Yameinu, Amen V'Amen. Thank you.
Throughout the last 75 years, the Jews of the diaspora have played a critical role in fighting for, lobbying, and supporting Israel. We here in Los Angeles are fortunate to reside in a city that leads by example in this regard. The Jewish Federation of Los Angeles has been a shining light of activism and support since October 7th, and we honored to have the Jewish Federation's Los Angeles representative for the Israel and Overseas Committee, a member of the Executive Board of the Jewish Federation of Los Angeles, and board member of our synagogue, Young Israel of North Beverly Hills, who will share with us about the impact and efforts of the Federation and his recent solidarity mission to Israel. Please welcome Mr. Moshe Sassover.
First of all, everybody else came up with a written speech, which means mine will be longer. These are difficult times for our people. I first want to say that the CEO of the Federation, Rabbi Noah Farkas, apologizes he would be here. This is the weekend for his son's bar mitzvah, so I hope that you will forgive him for not being here. But we do have Becky Sovelman-Stern, who is an executive vice president. She's the chief program officer. That means that any money that's spent by our federation really is directed by Becky. And we have Zev Hurwitz here, who is coordinating all the synagogue and rabbinical outreach in our community. And I thank all of you for having us be here tonight. So I had the opportunity with Becky to be in Israel, not this last week, but the week before. We traveled, we met with people, we met with families that had been evacuated who had loss, families of hostages. We went to Barzilai Hospital that was overwhelmed. We met with the dispatcher at Magen David Adom who was on duty that Shabbat, and just regaled us with how one call after another where she was just not able to help and do nothing. going through Israel, the people of Israel were filled with a variety of emotions of shock, anger, mourning, and yet we also saw an incredible sense of unity and a sense of resolve, and I'm going to come back to that in a few minutes. My parents were Holocaust survivors. My wife's parents were Holocaust survivors. And I will tell you that my mom, who turned 95 in October, her mind is all there. She's very sharp and she follows the news. And all of this has reawakened all of her experiences. And she can't sleep because she keeps thinking about all of our people who, babies beheaded, babies killed, and all of the brutality that our people suffered. And she's reliving it again, and she can't sleep. When I was in Israel, I met with some friends, some very close friends of ours. They also can't sleep. Our friend Judy Klitzner was telling me that she has 5 of her children and a son-in-law who are in the army. They're now on duty. And she's had times when she's had 1 or 2 serving. She's never had 5 at the same time. And she can't sleep. She's up at night worried. I'm sure that that's the case for many, including our rabbi in Sabine, whose son, Meir, is serving on the front lines. And I can't sleep. I'll tell you that I can't sleep. I'm up at night. I'm trying to check the latest news. And as I'm sure all of us, we are all worried. During these difficult times, I'm reminded of what we are saying every morning during our prayer service, that God, who is the protector of Israel, lo yanum velo yishan, he should not slumber, he should not sleep. And while we cannot sleep, while my mother can't sleep, while our friends can't sleep, and all of us can't sleep, I would suggest to you and to myself that this is not a time to be sleeping. Our enemies are not sleeping, and we cannot sleep. So while our brothers and sisters in Israel have their life on the line, those who are serving in the IDF, and those who are living in Israel and are constantly subjected to the terror of missile attacks and the uncertainty, we here do not have our lives directly on the line, perhaps. So we must do our part. They are doing their part. The civil society in Israel has been incredible through this. The civil society has pop-up volunteer organizations that started with 3 people when we were there, 4,500 people doing things that are incredible, providing evacuees with free food, free toys for the kids, free clothing, free cash, just taking care of one another. And doesn't make a difference whether somebody is secular, it doesn't make a difference whether somebody is Haredi, it doesn't make a difference where you stood on the judicial reform. None of that matters today. Today what matters is a sense of unity. It is the last thing that we have on our around our Aron Kodesh, Achdut, unity. And the people of Israel are united and they are resolved, and we must be united with them. So what is it that we can do? What is it that we must do? Part of what we must do is we must provide Israel with the financial support. We must provide our brothers and sisters with the financial support that they so desperately need. And so I want to explain to you the work that the Federation is doing since the war started. When the war began, the Jewish Federations of North America, the national organization, which is comprised of 146 organizations, communities large and small and medium of all size, announced a campaign to raise $500 million to provide money for humanitarian needs in Israel. Why the Jewish Federation, and why do I think that that is the organization that makes sense for us to partner with as a shul? First, there's no administrative cost that is being taken off of the funds that are raised. All of the money is going directly to the people who need it. The second is that the Federation system does some things not so well, does some things well, does some things very well. In this particular instance, the Federation system has an infrastructure that, thank God, we have. What is that infrastructure? So the Jewish Federations of North America has a staff in Israel. It's an experienced and skilled staff, people who know all of the nonprofits, and they know all of the lay of the land. They live in Israel. In addition to that, there are a number of federations, some of the larger federations, like our own, that have our own office in Israel. When the war broke out, the Jewish Federation staff in Israel, together with all of the local Federation staff in Israel, created a coordinating committee, and they are working together, and they are assessing and prioritizing where our money that we collect should be spent. Money, again, that has no administrative fee charged to it. And in the beginning of the war, I'll share with you what some of their conclusions were, and these conclusions change as the situation changes on the ground. At the very beginning of the war, the first priority was medical supplies and equipment. And because medical supplies and equipment were so overwhelmed, the whole system was overwhelmed, that we needed to replenish the system. Second priority was making sure that the evacuees, those who are internally displaced refugees in Israel. We now have close to 200,000 of our brothers and sisters who are out of their home in the north and the south, who are in hotel rooms or in kibbutzim or in different places, who need housing, who need clothes, they left with nothing. They need housing, they need clothes, they need food, they need education for their children, they need entertainment for their children, they need computers, they need everything. That's the second priority. The third priority is to make sure that we take care of the vulnerable population. So that means elderly, Holocaust survivors, people who have special needs. We have to make sure that all of those people are taken care of at a time like this. Fourth priority, making sure that we have the capability to provide trauma and resilience for everybody in Israel. The truth is that the entire country is in trauma. So all of us have been inundated with I don't know how many requests and how many needs, and all of them, I'm sure, are legitimate. I have full confidence in the Federation system because I know these professionals and I've worked with them and I see how the money has been allocated. And so this is a time when all of us have to dig deep. We have to do our part while our brothers and sisters in Israel are doing their part. They have their life on the line. I am reminded of what the General Counsel, Bechor, said just a few days after the war started. This Shabbat, October the 7th, was the worst loss, the worst massacre of Jewish life since the Holocaust. During the Holocaust, our people had no opportunity to fight. We had no opportunity to do anything about it. Fortunately, thank God, today we have an army, we have a state, we have the ability to fight, and fight we are, and fight we must, and win we must. This last week we lost a local, one of our shul members, Ernie Goldberger. His wife, he was 96, Holocaust survivor. His wife, who was 89, who traveled to Israel to bury him, came back. And she had a very interesting observation. She said, you know, many people always, they question her, and they said, you know, during the Holocaust, why didn't your people fight back? Why didn't they do something? And now that we are fighting back, they're saying, don't fight back. So thank God we have the opportunity to fight back. Again, we must do our part. Everybody has a QR code that you can utilize to make a contribution. You also have pledge cards for people in my generation who probably don't know how to use the QR codes. I want to tell you that Helen and I, and all of us, I want to say to you, all of us have given, and we are going to be asked to give again because we must see this through. And this is 30 days, but what is 30 days compared to thousands of years of longing for a Jewish state of our own? Our enemies think that we are going to give up, and we must not. We have to have perseverance. We have to dig deep. And so Helen and I are adding to whatever it is that we previously gave. We're adding an additional $100,000 match. We're hoping that people tonight will take us up on our match. And again, I'm asking you to dig deep. Remember, the people of Israel have their life on the line. We are all one people, and we have to do our part. Thank you.
Since October 7th, anti-Semitism has proliferated throughout the globe. In just a few weeks, the nonprofit group Stop Anti-Semitism says that they are now receiving over 500 reports a day. Jewish students on college campuses across the United States have found themselves at the forefront of these attacks, and their protection and resilience is essential for our future. To share with us about Jewish life on campus, please welcome President of the Chabad and a junior at USC, Alyssa Wallack.
These past few weeks, as I'm sure everyone here can relate, have been some of the hardest days of my life. Feels like a vicious cycle of waking up every morning with a heavy heart, constantly checking the news to see what's going on in Israel, not being able to focus in any of my classes, praying for the safety and return of all of our hostages. I have a lot of friends at school who, despite their best intentions, don't fully grasp the depth of what we're experiencing. They ask me, do you have family in Israel? And while my immediate family isn't there, my answer always remains the same. They are all my family. On October 10th, just 3 days after the largest massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust, USC Chabad and Hillel hosted a vigil with around 400 students. Imagine sitting at that vigil, grieving, crying, hugging, and singing. Then turning around only to see a group of Palestinian protesters directly behind you, challenging our right to grieve innocent lives even before Israel really began its retaliation. This moment offers merely a snapshot into the emotional roller coaster that has been life at USC. A few days later, my friends and I attended a USC-hosted panel about the conflict. To no surprise, the panel consisted of one Palestinian and two obviously anti-Israel professors. Following the biased presentation, the Q&A ensued, and a professor in the audience got up and exclaimed, "Zionist students always control the narrative to silence Palestinians." After, my friend and I approached this professor, and we told her that we took that personally. And she looks at us and goes, "Good, you should take that personally," and then walked away. It's imperative to emphasize that no educator should be allowed to escape accountability for making such a prejudiced and inflammatory comment. This incident, coupled with instances like the tearing down of hostage posters and the vocal endorsement of Intifada on our campus, underscores how anti-Semitism often is masked as anti-Zionism on our campus, a subtle yet insidious phenomenon that inflicts lasting damage on our community. The clash of perspectives, evident at the vigil and the panel, underscores the complexities that we grapple with on a daily basis. The juxtaposition of grief and protests reminds us that even in our sorrow, we must confront the uncomfortable reality that narratives are contested, emotions are high, and our campus becomes a battleground of ideas. Yet, in the face of adversity, our USC community and the broader Jewish community has found strength. We find solace in leaning on each other, in morale, in education, in unity, and in community. A few days after the massacre, Chabad held its annual Shabbat 1000. This year, we exceeded our expectations and had over 1,300 members of the Jewish community show up, making it the biggest Shabbat dinner on the West Coast. This feeling of Jewish pride continued throughout our community, where myself and others attended a Shabbaton in Crown Heights called Pagisha last weekend. Over 1,200 Jewish college students from around the world came together to celebrate our Judaism. Pagisha gave me the strength that I needed to keep going and served as a reminder of what I'm fighting for: the greatest community of people filled with so much love, resilience, care, and hope. As president of Chabad at USC, I want to share a quantifiable number that my friend and I have been taking it upon ourselves to sit outside of the business school and urge our Jewish peers to wrap tefillin. Before October 7th, we typically had about 20 to 25 individuals wrapping tefillin at least once a week, but in these past few weeks, the response has been nothing short of remarkable. The number has soared, with approximately 175 students now participating weekly. This surge is more than a numerical increase. It is a testament to the unity and resilience that defines us as a community. Students have taken on significant proactive engagement on campus, setting up tables outside of USC's entrance, boldly displaying an "Ask Me Anything About the Conflict" sign next to an Israeli flag. This initiative isn't about just sharing our perspectives, but it's an invitation for dialogue, understanding, and education. In times when it seems like the whole world is chanting for our destruction, we have never been more united. The lack of an administrative response from USC has been disheartening, but we refuse to be disheartened. Even in our darkest hours, our community will not be fragmented. We will continue to fight, not for ourselves, but for our country, for our people, and for our right to exist in a world free from discrimination and hate. Am Yisrael Chai.
When I first met our guests tonight, Batia and Rotem Holin, I was taken by their composure, their bravery, and the anguish and pain that they carry. I was promptly aware of how little I understood about their reality. To be in their presence is to come into contact with a pain that is so unimaginable, and a spirit that, though broken, has taught me more about strength in our short time together than all of the videos and articles I had seen. Batia and Rotem, on behalf of everyone gathered here and watching online, I would like to thank you for agreeing to take leave of your families at a time like this and travel across the world to share your story with us. Please join me in welcoming from Kfar Azza, Israel, Batia Holin.
Thank you. My dear friends, what we have to say this evening is not going to be easy for you to hear. We know that, but we feel it is important that you hear it. And we truly appreciate you being here to show us your love and support. The events of October 7th in Kfar Azza are beyond comprehension. We experienced the kind of fear that no word can describe. We stayed in our bomb shelter for so many hours, without food, without water, without access to restroom, and without knowing what was happening to our loved ones. It was so difficult, we felt utterly helpless. All our lives, we believe that such a thing could never happen. And yet, when our worst nightmares became a reality, there was no army there, and there was no one to protect us. We were totally alone and defenseless. Through our community WhatsApp groups, we realized that a major tragedy was unfolding. People all around us were being murdered. They were being burned alive, and all their cries for help were going unanswered. We waited for hours for the army to arrive. The first time we realized military presence in the kibbutz was at 4 in the afternoon, which was 8 hours after the nightmare started. Throughout those 8 hours, the terrorists continued to destroy and burn, and they continued to murder and torture our friends. The story we are sharing with you this evening is not one of bravery. It's one of sheer luck. Sadly, many of our friends did not have that luck. It's important to emphasize that there was never a moment of mercy, not even when the terrorists decided not to burn our house, or when they decided not to kill Rotem. Don't think that it was a moment of humanity or compassion. This same group that decided for some reason not to slaughter Rotem and her children, or to kill only Rotem in front of her children, or to kill the children in front of Rotem, as they did in so many other homes, perhaps they wanted us to live with the pain of the death and the haunting feeling, like many Holocaust survivors had, of wondering why I survived when my neighbor didn't. We are peaceful people. All our lives have demonstrated for peace against the Israeli government, advocating for humanity towards us Palestinians. We did this for years. We extended our hands in peace, and we received a blood-soaked hand in return. Our neighbor, Ophir Lipstein, head of the Sha'ar HaNegev Regional Council, was a visionary for peace and for cooperation with the Palestinians. He designed a joint park with the Palestinians near the Erez border crossing. Ophir was among the first to be killed while defending Kfar Azza at the terrible mourning. His son Nitzan was also murdered. The Kutz family, mother, father, and 3 children, were killed. Hadar and Ditai, parents of 10-month-old twins, were killed, leaving the infants alone, crying for hours until someone heard them and rescued them. Avichai, who went out to defend the kibbutz as a part of the emergency team, was injured in combat, and his wife and 3 children were taken captive. Roy and Smadar were murdered in their home. 2 of their children hid for 14 hours in a closet until they were rescued. But their 4-year-old sister was taken by the murderers and is now being held captive in Gaza, utterly alone without her family. These are just a few examples. The horror just goes on and on. We need you to understand that everything that happened on that Shabbat, on Simchat Torah, on October 7th, was inhuman and utterly indefensible. This is not a war. Wars are fought between armies. Massacres are when attackers come and they murder, rape, kidnap, and torture women, children, and the elderly. The terrorists who came to Kfar Azza were not freedom fighters looking to create a state or to free a nation. True freedom fighters don't treat death and destruction like a party of celebrate over the corpse of their victims. That's what psychopathic killers do. In February 2023, I showcased an exhibition of my photographs depicting Kfar Azza, its surroundings. Photos capturing the sunrise and sunsets, of people wandering the trails. All the photos were images of optimism and hope. I also invite a photographer from Gaza to participate in this exhibition, to use these photos so that he could show his perspective of Gaza. I truly believe that we, the ordinary people who are beyond the political divide, could lay the foundation for a shared life together. Throughout the period before October 7th, I was always thinking of the other side and how I could somehow improve our collective lives. Meanwhile, as it turns out, they were plotting to kill me. When I present the exhibition, I concealed the name and detail of the photographer from Gaza to protect him. But for me, my family, and my friends, there was no such protection. Today, we are all displaced. Our children have been uprooted from their homes. They have been forced to reinvent themselves in a new environment, with new kindergarten, a new school, and new friends, while they are missing many of their old friends, some of whom were murdered and others who are captured, scattered across the country. My 7-year-old grandson, who had just had first 2 weeks in first grade, now misses his school, he misses his teacher, and he misses his friends. And we have nothing good to tell him that can explain the situation. We are working tirelessly to establish a new routine for our children and for ourselves in this new place. But in another 3 or 4 months, we will have to move again. And our children and grandchildren will have to readjust again. In a year or 2, we will have to move once again, this time back home to Kfar Azza. But what kind of home will it be? How do we rebuild without the friends we have lost? And with such traumatic memories, and what about the impact on the 3-year-old girl who will have to redefine herself so many times in the coming 3 years? It's very tough. The tragedy of October 7th is not just the murders and the kidnaps. October 7th has uprooted tens of thousands of people. We from Kfar Azza have all left our jobs, and we now face the challenge to finding new employment. Then we will have leave the new job, and we will have to find another one, and then another one. The thought of it's daunting, and the reality is even worse. We are currently residing at a hotel in Shfaim. They have welcomed us very warmly, and our hosts cater to our every need. But the situation is very difficult. Families of 4 or 5 people who narrowly escaped being killed are now cramped in a single hotel room. Think of a 17-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl who must sleep together in one room alongside their parents. What become of their privacy? What become of the family unit that it's already on the edge? How many families will fall apart because of these terrible circumstances? In the past, before the October 7th, our hopes revolved around an idealized notion of peace with those across the border in Gaza. That hope is now completely gone. The Palestinians who worked for us, to whom we gave jobs, hoping that this would help them and would bring us closer together, those same Palestinians were one who betrayed us. They watched us, they took note of who lived where, who owned a dog, who had children, which cars to steal. They betrayed us, the worst it could ever be. So now, after October 7th, our hope revolves around the overwhelming support we have received from Israeli society, the same society that until recently seemed to have lost its sense of solidarity. We also take hope from the global Jewish community, like you, our hosts. Despite the fact that many Jews in the diaspora have felt alienated by Israeli government policies, you stand by us unconfidentially and you support us. The battle you fight on your campuses and in your media against anti-Semitism and for Israel's right to exist give us strength and reassurance. It allows us to believe that we can truly live as Am Chofshi Be'artzenu, a free nation in our land. We deeply need your support, not just now, but for the long term. We need your help to rebuild Kfar Azza, which may take alone 3 years to finish. During this time, we will require all assistance we can get to reconstruct the homes we have lost. We thank you for the support, and we deeply appreciate your love and warmth. Am Yisrael Chai. The people of Israel live, and with your help, they will live and be victorious forever. Thank you.
In a moment, we will hear Rotem's story. And at the conclusion of her remarks, she will be joined on stage by Chazan Nati Baram, who will sing the Kel Malei Rachmim prayer, and Rotem will recount the names of those lost from her community in Kfar Azza. Please welcome to the stage Rotem Holin.
I start to speak mine or the death? It's okay. So I need my note. So how everyone, thank you for having me here. My name is Rotem and I'm from Kfar Azza. I was born and raised in Kfar Azza. I'm 44 years old. My children is born and raised in Kfar Azza. I have a son who's 7 years old and a daughter, she's 5 years old. I want you to imagine Kfar Azza before because it was the most beautiful place on earth. Most amazing sunsets, most amazing community, very strong community. We had, until the 6th of October, 950 people in Kfar Azza. And we had a great tradition in Kfar Azza called Afifoniada. It's like a community event of flying kites. We build our own kites with peace messages, and we went and fly them in our football dress in front of the border. And really thought that one day we can live next to each other, that the people want to live well and to live next to each other. We don't have to like each other, but we can live next to each other. That was the program for the October 7th on Simchat Torah. And it didn't happen. On October 7th, 6:30 a.m., we started to have the missile attack on Kfar Azza and all the West Negev. It's something that sometimes we hear, and we have the drill to go to the safe room, to the mamad. My children are sleeping in the mamad. This is their bedroom. And they have good genes, so they didn't wake up. But I did, and I closed all my house. I put down the shades, closed the door, took the tablets and a bag of rolls to the safe room and locked it. The problem with the safe room that it can be open from the outside, because if you are trapped inside, someone can come and rescue you. It's not for terrorists. So We heard the bombing, we heard the shooting, and the WhatsApp groups of the kibbutz started to have the messages from all over the kibbutz. They are burning us, they are shooting us, they are killing us, there are terrorists, where are the army? Please help us. Please, why nobody is coming? From all over the kibbutz. My neighbor, Omer, wrote me that he's injured. And I told him that if the blood is clattered, so he should go to the safe room, lock himself, and when it's all over, I will come and see what I can do to help him. He wrote back, "Thank you." And that was his last comment. Then I had a phone call from my neighbor, Ronen. He said that the terrorists are in his house and why nobody is here. I told him that I don't know, and I messages in one of the groups that I know that my parents are not in that group, that he has terrorists in his house, and please send troops. Then the call is off, and I'm hearing a very loud noise, and my front door is opened, and I'm hearing Arabic in my house. I was hoping to hear Hebrew, but I heard Arabic. So I stood and held the handle of the door, but I was too weak. There were 6 terrorists inside my house. They opened the door, they shoot 1 shot inside the room. Luckily, I was standing near the door and not in front of the door. And then I stood up in front of them, and I told them that I have 2 children with me in the mamad, in the safe room. So they enter, they were all wearing blacks, long rifles. They entered the mamad, they saw me and my 2 kids. Then they went out talking Arabic. My son asked if they are going to apologize. 7-year-old boy. And then one of them is getting in and tells me that he is a Muslim, he is not going to hurt me. I had a miracle. Then I took my phone, and they wanted me to open it. So I opened it with my thumb. They said, and they talk English. I spoke with them in English. They wanted the code. I didn't want them to take me the phone because this is the only communication I had with the outside world. My parents are in their mamad in the kibbutz, my brother also. We always had a checkup if everything is okay. So they give the phone to my son, and he is opening the phone for them. After that, they are finding my car keys, and they are taking me to show them where the car is. And all the time there's a bombing, there's a shooting, there's a war outside, all the time. And then they find my reserve army card, and they're showing it to me and tell me, bring the weapon. I tell them that I don't have any weapon at home. So they ask again, and I tell them that they can search the whole house, I don't have any weapon. And they do search the house, and they didn't find any weapon. Then I find a family picture. My kid's father wasn't at home. He was in a hospital, luckily. And they are pointing at him and ask me where he is. And I tell them in Tel Aviv. So they open all the cabins to see if he's not hiding anywhere. And they didn't find anything. And then they ask, where are the soldiers? I wanted to tell them that I asked the same question, where are the soldiers? And they ask again, where are the soldiers? And I tell them that I don't know, I'm here in the safe room, I don't know where are the soldiers. And then they're staying approximately 2 hours in my house. We have one terrorist all the time with us in the room. And after 2 hours, they are leaving and closing the door of the mamad. I know that my house is broken. The lights are on, the shades are up. And I'm afraid that somebody else will come, and I don't have that luck. And I'm praying. I'm praying that someone will come. And my kids are asking, when are we going to eat lunch? And then when are we going to eat dinner? And nobody is coming. And I know that my parents don't know what happened to me because suddenly I disappeared. So I realized that I have a landline phone somewhere, and I'm running to have it from inside my house. And I'm calling my mother from the mamad, and I'm telling her that we are okay, we are in the mamad. I don't have a cell phone. Also to my brother and to Shai, my kid's father. My brother asked me, why don't you have a phone? I don't have a phone. I didn't tell them anything. And the hours are come, and nobody else is coming. And my daughter wants to drink, and I tell her that I don't have any water, but she's thirsty, she wants to drink. And I'm telling her that it's dangerous. I can't go and have any water. We did our poo and pee in the mamad, in bags. And finally, they were asleep. And I found myself between their beds praying to anyone to come and save us. In the night, they are coming back, the terrorists. I hear them, but they are not coming to the mamad. We were very quiet, and the house was already broken, and the lights are on, so they probably thought that they already took care of this house. And they are leaving in a few minutes. And the morning is up, and my kids are up, and I tell them that we are still in the mamad, it's still dangerous, we can't go out. And I'm waiting, and I'm afraid that the terrorists will come again, and I don't have this luck again. And only on Sunday, on 12:30 p.m., 32 hours after the first attack, the IDF comes, and we can go out from the mamad. I don't know what is going on around me because I don't have the cell phone. I don't know what's happened after my last message that the terrorists are in my house. And we are going out from the mamad. They are bringing me a bottle of water, and they're shooting again. And we are coming back to the mamad, and they are having a battle, a shooting battle in my house. And then they come back and said that they found another terrorist outside my window. They killed him, and now they can rescue us outside from the kibbutz. So they take us, the kids and me, to the point we meet my parents, that they didn't know what happened to me. Many people of the kibbutz thought that we are dead or kidnapped because they have no communication with me. And I start to realize what happened to my neighbors. All of my neighbors, despite one family, were murdered or killed or kidnapped. I don't know why I had such a luck, but all my neighbors didn't have that luck. My son, who's 7, now asking a lot about death and why they died, why they are in Gaza, why can't they come home? Children, mother of children. And the answers are not too easy. We had a great place, and we are a strong community. We can rebuild ourselves. I don't know where, I don't know when, but we will. And that's why we also need you to help us. And as my mother said, not for a month or two. It will be a long way. We kind of orphans. We need you to adopt us. We had a Holocaust. The Holocaust, like Mr. Sassover said, they happened in Europe to communities, to the Jewish communities in Europe. And Israel was established along the slogan, never again. And it happened again, inside Israeli borders. People are always asking me, how can I live in Kfar Azza, so close to Gaza? From my window, I saw Sajaya. I always thought that I was protected, that we have the biggest army in the area, the smartest army in the world, that we matter to the leadership, to the people in Israel. And we abandoned, in the most hurtful way, we abandoned. And now we have to rebuild ourselves, and also the trust. The trust is broken. And now we are talking about the 30th, but we are still in that day. We're still on October 7th. We are not able to move on from that date. We are still there. We are now in Shfaim, Kibbutz Kfar Azza in Shfaim. It's like a big Shiva. We are a big Shiva. We have 62 members killed, 18 kidnaps. And kibbutz it's like I said, it's a big family. And all of them, it's like our sister, our brother, our daughter, our son, our mother, our father. It's a family, and we miss a lot of our family. So now we are broken. But we shall overcome. The history learned us that the Jewish people are overcome. but it will take time, and we will need help, but we shall overcome. So thank you for having us.
El male rachamim, shochen bamromim, hametzei menucha nechona, al kanfei השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים וגיבורים כזוהר הרקיע את נשמות אחינו ואחיותינו בני ישראל הנשים, נשים וטף, שנהרגו, שנשחטו, שנטבחו ושנשרפו חיים בידי מרצחי החמאס, יימח שמם וזכרם. ומסרו נפשם על קידוש השם.
שחר אביאן, מיכל אדמוני, גיא אדמוני, אליאור גד, טל אילון, לילי תמרי, רמי תמרי, סיוון אלקבץ, מודי אמיר, בילה אפשטיין, נטע אפשטיין, יובל בויום, מאיה בן דוד, איתי ברדיצ'בסקי, הדר רוזנפלד ברדיצ'בסקי, אביב ברעם, נדב גולדשטיין, ים גולדשטיין, טובה גורן, ארן גורן, נעמי דגני, אבי הינדי, דורית ורטהיים, אביב ורטהיים, יהב וינר, איתן זיו, תמי פלג זיו, נאור חסידים, עומר חרמש, אופיר ליבשטיין, ניצן ליבשטיין, יובל סלומון, רועי עידן, סמדר מור עידן, נדב עמיקם, יזהר פלד, גילה פלד, דניאל פלד, סינדי פלש, יגאל פלש, עומר צדיקביץ', אביב קוץ, לבנת קוץ, רותם קוץ, יונתן קוץ, יפתח קוץ, דוד קצ'קו קציר, נירה רונן, אנג'י נירס פורן וורקר ונרסטר, אורי רוסו, אליקו רייכנשטיין, אורלי שוורצמן, דוד שוורצמן, אופיר שושני, מירה שטל, שחף ברגשטיין, נראל זיני, ניב רביב, and 2 Thailand workers.
ולנשמות חללי צבא הגנה לישראל ושוטרי משטרת ישראל וכוחות הביטחון שחירפו נפשם למות ונפלו בהגנת גבולות הארץ בידי המרצחים יימח שמם וזכרם ומסרו נפשם על קדושת השם בעבור שאנו מתפללים לעילוי נשמותיהם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. לכן בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו בשלום על משכבם ונאמר אמן.
I also want to read the names of who is captured. דורון שטיינבכר, עמית סוסנה, אמילי דמארי, גלי ברמן, זיו ברמן, חן גולדשטיין, גל גולדשטיין, טל גולדשטיין, אגם גולדשטיין, אלון לולו שמריז, Thank you. כית סיגל, אביבה סיגל, אגר ברודץ', עופרי ברודץ', יובל ברודץ', אוריה ברודץ', אביגיל עידן, יותם חיים. Bring him home now.
It is imperative that we do everything we can in the midst of our sadness and grief to bring the hostages home. And I know that many people feel the need, particularly in the face of the fact that haters are ripping down the posters of the kidnapped hostages all over the world. Please find a name of a hostage, names, write to your political representative wherever you live. Make sure that the humanitarian needs of the hostages who are currently incarcerated in Gaza under the control of Hamas, that their needs are not forgotten, that we do everything that we can to bring them home now. I'm going to say a Misha Berach for the hostages. Please listen carefully and respond Amen at the end. Misha Berach Avoteinu Abraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov. Hu yivarech v'yishmor v'yinsor et nedrei tzva'hagana liYisrael v'chatufei yishuvei hadarom. Benehem taf v'nashim zekenim u'na'arim. Hachatufim bidei v'nei avla oyevei amcha v'mechalem admatecha. Ba'avur sha'akahal mitpalel ba'avuram. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yimalei rachamim alehem, yichazek et libam, v'yamet et rucham, v'yotzihem michoshech v'tzalmavet, u'mosrotehem yinatek, u'mitukatehem yishiem, v'yishivem mehera lechek mishpechotehem. V'yikuyam bahem mikra shekatuv, u'fudoyei Adonai yishuvun, Uva'u Tzion berina v'simchat olam al rosham sason v'simcha yasigu v'nasu yagon v'nacha v'nomar amen. I'd like to, on behalf of all of us, thank Batia and Rotem for their bravery, for their courage, for their fortitude, and for being with us this evening. They have inspired us, and we will do everything we can to help you, your community, and all those who have suffered as a result of the massacre of October the 7th. Thank you.
Please remain standing for Hatikva by Chazan Nati Baram, accompanied by violinist Leah Ziger.
Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homiya ulfatei mizrach kadima Sophia, od lo avda tikvateinu, atikva bat shnot alpayim, liot am chofshi
Thank you to you all. Thank you for being here this evening to show solidarity with Israel. Please do take your donation envelopes with you. Use the QR code. Every penny that you donate will go towards those communities in need, such as Kfar Azza. Our community must be generous. We appreciate your generosity. Thank you for being with us. Good evening. Shalom.
I'm coming home, coming home. Tell the world I'm coming. And the blood will dry underneath my nails, and the wind will rise up to fill my sails. See, you can doubt and you can hate, but I know no matter what it takes, I'm coming home, I'm coming home. Tell the world I'm coming home. Let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they're fighting for my sake. I'm coming home, coming home. Tell the world I'm coming. So far away from where I belong, but it's all